Rob G.
I don't like your tone already.
What?
Go ahead.
On what?
What you about to get to?
Oh, you already know it. But Rob G, I'm just going to say the talk was about Matthew Stafford, preview of the upcoming contest, correct? And as we know, sometimes, coach speak and coaches go crazy and make all kinds of crazy comments. And I think these were some crazy comments about Matthew Stafford.
Well, very quietly, one of the most important and big games of the weekend is this upcoming Rams-Colts game because the Colts are 3-0, the Rams are 2-1. They look like one of the best teams in football for about 3.5 quarters, and they blew it there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, bad loss.
This game is very big long-term for the NFL season, and you mentioned it, Shane Steichen met with the media earlier today. He was asked about Matthew Stafford and how is it he's able to play at such a high level at the ripe age of 37. Take a listen to this doozy.
I think he's one of the best probably to ever do it, and I think he has a physicality about him. Like, he's tough as it gets. I mean, you see him taking shots and he gets up and he ain't coming out of the game, and that's respect there, right away. Just seeing that, but I think he can make all the throws. I think he does a great job of seeing it. I mean, like I said, he makes some big plays with his arm, and when you got a guy that's done it at a high level for a long time, he's seen a lot of different looks, and so getting him in and out of the right plays is he's been doing that for a long time. But I mean, just the utmost respect for him.
Just once again, a total what are these guys smoking? These coaches and whatnot. I know you want to give the other guy some kind words or whatever. Stafford has played a long time. I watched his very first game in Detroit. I covered most of his career. Okay, so I've watched him play. But to consider him as one of the greatest who has ever done it, this reminds me of these young kids who think Paul George is their GOAT. The Matthew Stafford is Paul George with a lucky championship that he was able to get, late in his career. None of the numbers or anything you talk about with Matthew Stafford add up. None of it. There's a reason he was called Stat Padford in Detroit. They were down 21-0. Prevent defense. They let you throw in front of them. You noticed, you watched it, and he piled up numbers and whatnot, and they lost, and they would lose all the time. And I'm just saying, those are the numbers that Stafford has. They weren't any. I don't know if Stafford played for real. I'm not sure he played 10 games that mattered in his entire career in Detroit. And I'm talking about the 3 playoff games and maybe a couple seasons, the first game of the year. You know what I mean? Where something was on the line. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm not so sure he played 10 games in his career that mattered before he came to Los Angeles. Here's the issue I have in this long career. Always a Tier 2 quarterback, right? Only, I think, one time was he ever even considered a Tier 1 quarterback, and I can't dispute that. 2-time Pro Bowler. One time I know he was an alternate on the Pro Bowl. Has a losing record as a starter, 110, 114-1. In the playoffs, 5-5, and 1-5 outside of that Super Bowl run. You know what I mean? And let's not forget, the Rams went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff before he got there. They weren't like an also-ran or downtrodden organization, and the Messiah showed up and got him there. So none of this stuff makes any sense to me. I get it. You fall in love with the arm and some of the other attributes, which is fine to say that he can sling the football and he does a lot of things well or whatever. But one of the greatest, one of the best who ever did it, I just think it's overblown. And people just toss around the idea of who's great. How could you even consider him one of the greatest who ever done it? He has a losing record, 2 Pro Bowls. I don't know. I'll ask you, Rob G. Can you look this up? Has he ever gotten 1 vote for MVP? I'm serious. In all these years he played in the National Football League, I don't think he's gotten actually 1 vote.
I wouldn't be surprised if he got maybe one of those years where he put up 4,500 yards.
But if I was a betting man right now, I'd say he's never gotten even 1 MVP.
That's possible.
So
Matthew Stafford is one of those guys that, again, we've talked about in other sports. Kyrie Irving. You mentioned Paul George, but I'll go Kyrie Irving. 1-time champ, But because of circumstances, it's going to be hard to explain his full story. I'll give you another guy.
But at least Kyrie had like a big shot in a big moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no, we know
that.
Kyrie is Kyrie, but it's going to be hard because you'll name so many other guys you'll put above him that if you didn't really see it, you'll be hard to explain. Now, Matthew Stafford, I think why people love him, why he's your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback or quarterbacks of the past. They drool over him. Offensive coordinator Sean McVay, why he was like, we're not going to ride with Jared Goff, this young guy we believe. He's like, get out of here. We can get Matthew Stafford. There's a couple of reasons why. And sometimes I think in anything you want to go, whether it could be music, it could be movies, there's an adoration that people have for somebody. Part of it is their circumstances. And I think there's a lot of people who look at Matthew Stafford, you know, the people who study the game and know the game. They say, man, if that guy was in place X or had the same opportunities as Joe Blow, man, what would he do? He makes every throw, and you know this. His arm angles and throws were ridiculous. He can throw a ball up, under, over, sideways, switch hand, left hand, no looks. And he's big, he's strong. I mean, he's his big arm, he's tough, he stays in games. And I think there's a part of guys who watch him and say, man, if he was only in a Kyle Shanahan system for a decade, if he was only with Andy Reid got Kevin Cobb, made Kevin Cobb look like a thing. He brought Michael Vick from prison to the comeback player of the year. Donovan McNabb stayed in the NFC Championship game and even a Super Bowl.
Who go to bad situations, okay? Michael Jordan went to the Chicago Bulls that had a terrible organization. Go look it up before he showed up.
Oh, they were bad.
Okay? Really bad. They hadn't won anything.
Orlando Woolridge just in there collecting checks.
Yeah, and Reggie Theus and all those guys. That's all I'm saying. There are plenty of guys. Peyton Manning went to Indianapolis. I could go on and on and on. Not the best situation, not the best circumstance. You can't always use that for everybody. There are people who change the organization. Joe Burrow, they could not win a playoff game in Cincinnati, right? People were saying, don't go to Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. You don't deserve that. You deserve better. And what did he do his second year? He took him to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm trying to say
and here's the thing,
that's why. And Kelvin Johnson and Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley, like they had some players. They had a top 5 defense the year they lost to Dallas in the playoffs. Go look it up. You remember that year?
Ndamukong Suh was throwing humans around. Nick Fairley had
but I'm just saying, you remember that. But
Yeah.
that year they had a really good defense.
So the guys you named, I'm glad you named them because Michael Jordan was just scoring a bunch of pointless points until he got Phil Jackson. Peyton Manning was just throwing a bunch of touchdowns until he got Tony Dungy, and they created a team. And that's the point. People who watch Matthew Stafford say, man, if only he had a situation.
You can't do that.
And I'm just telling you why people put him in.
No, but that's to say that he has no control of anything.
But
it ain't the minute he got. No. This is where I'm going to push back. It ain't the minute he got the team because they had already had success before he got there.
I don't disagree with that.
They had already gone to the Super Bowl. And I'm going to tell you this, and I want you to go look it up. If what's that kid's name? Jaquiski Tart or whatever his name is. Jaquiski Tart. If he catches that interception and the Rams lose that game, his narrative about Matthew Stafford is night and day because it was right on cue. Matthew Stafford threw a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl and didn't get the Super Bowl MVP. You know why? Because he had 2 interceptions in that game as well. And that's all I'm trying to tell you.
Listen, so
is that he's one play away, one play from being garbage.
But we
to
know,
people.
again,
one play.
But we know we can one play it to death. We know that.
I'm telling you,
going back to making a change, this is why I disagree with you on this one. Matthew Stafford came into an 0-16 team. And he didn't Eli Manning it. He didn't Shador maybe. I won't go play there. He didn't do any of that. Matthew Stafford embraced. And I remember, obviously, I'm watching his fan. I'm like, who are we going to draft? And they kept saying this kid out of Georgia. Matthew Stafford's a guy. Kid out of Georgia. Matthew Stafford's a guy. I'm like, all right. And anytime they would ask him, the Lions have been putrid. The Lions suck. The Lions aren't good. It's been a bad organization. Why would you want to go there? Why would you want to go there? He said, I want to be a part of the change. And for the most part, they were a team you had to beat with him. They made the postseason a few times with him. They wasn't doing that before him, and you know that you were there.
What do you mean they weren't doing that?
There was a long period where the Lions sucked and didn't even make the postseason for a long time before Matthew Stafford got there.
But and
so what I'm saying
look at all the but they were bad, and they got a lot of great players. Kelvin Johnson, they had a first top pick for year after year after year.
And one of them is no longer with us, Charles Rogers. They were just picking people, receiver after receiver. Roy Williams, they were picking receiver after receiver.
Here's the other thing that doesn't bode well. Look at the other guys. Matthew Stafford with the 2 Pro Bowls. Derek Carr, 4. Andy Dalton, 3. Kirk Cousins, 4.
And every person you tell me if I'm wrong, you would take Matthew Stafford out of everybody you just named.
No.
Who on that list would you take over Matthew Stafford? I'm just saying, not at
the time when they played, because there's a lot of bad Matthew Stafford that I watched. I was there every Sunday. I was there every Sunday.
Who would you take over Matthew Stafford?
No, you're doing it after the fact.
No, I'm talking about in real time.
It doesn't work. No, in real time, no, it doesn't work like that.
Stafford,
you're looking at Matthew Stafford after.
No,
yes, you are,
dude. Matthew Stafford has been your favorite analyst and analysis breakdown quarterback of the quarterbacks. People love Matthew Stafford.
He threw a ton of big interceptions again.
He did. He had
with the Lions. Are you kidding? I was watching.
He has the most comebacks in one season ever.
Yeah,
because his teams were down because they weren't great, and he found a way to get them back.
Yeah,
in
but
one season, he had 8 comebacks and wins. You know how many players don't have that in their entire 15, 20-year careers?
But the problem is, there were situations where they could have beat Green Bay the last game of the season at home. He has a terrible game. I could go and document all these games. There's a reason that people went along with that nickname, Stat Pafford, because most of his stats came late. They didn't come when the game was in flux, when the game was there.
I saw too many come back. I watched all these games. He won games they shouldn't have won. That's why I like when they called him the Cardiac Cats, because they knew how to come back. Look, Matthew Stafford, again, I think the benefit he has is people say if you put him in a winning situation, what would happen? He got to 1 and he won.
No, you make the situation winning.
He's 5-2 in the postseason.
That's ridiculous.
He's 5-2 in the postseason with Sean McVay.
He's 5-5 is what he is, and 1-5.
And people saw him ride. He made a horrible, putrid franchise solid. They weren't great. He made them solid and competitive for so long, and then he goes to a team
They weren't competitive to me.
They were.
They lost 23 straight road games. When?
The same Matthew Stafford that had them in the postseason a handful of times, but I know
3 times.
We never win the postseason.
12 years, 3 times.
Matthew Stafford.
The Lions used to go to the playoffs all the time. Barry Sanders, Wayne Fontes, they went every other year to the postseason.
And that stopped at about 98? And we ain't go back till about, 2011? Literally, I think that's what it was.
877-99 on Fox, 877-996.
You take Eli over Stafford?
Yes. Are you kidding? All day, every day.
You crazy.
Wow.
Not a single person is taking Eli Manning over Matthew Stafford.
Every day. Is Matthew Stafford really one of the best to ever do it in the NFL? And would you take Stafford over Eli Manning?
No.
Drew in Tampa. You're leading off. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Drew?
What's going on? So my thought on Matthew Stafford is real simple. There's times in the quarterback position where a quarterback makes a wide receiver and a wide receiver makes a quarterback. Matthew Stafford falls in that position where the wide receiver makes the quarterback. Calvin Johnson made that man's career, just like Randy Moss and Chris Carter made Dante Culpepper's career. Now, when quarterbacks make the team great, they make wide receivers. You look at the Tom Brady's, the Eli Manning's. Who did Eli have to throw to?
Eli kept some receivers. No disrespect.
You look at this stuff.
What'd you say? Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's my opinion. You have wide receivers that can make quarterbacks.
Right.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Calvin Johnson made Matthew Stafford.
100%. That's how despite never playing in a big game for Calvin, another one who played that and wound up quitting prematurely on the Lions. But my God,
got a tendency of doing that to people. The only disagree I have with Drew is like, all right, well then Peyton Manning's not a great quarterback because he had Reggie Wayne, Stokely, Marvin Harrison, and Dallas Clark and Edgerrin James in the backfield. Golly, we're doing that.
Ben in Seattle, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Ben?
Hey, Rob. Yeah, I'm calling to defend Stafford because you guys just sound like Detroit haters.
Why does
Seriously.
why do you have to be a hater?
Wait,
if I
don't tie me into the Detroit
Why-
hate.
why
I got
gotta
on a
be a-
hat right now that says Detroit
Why
versus
I gotta
everything.
be a hater because I'm not on board with you? What? Everybody's gotta be in lockstep. Is that what you want in this world?
No, Rob, because you make good points when you talk about some of these quarterbacks that you don't like and stuff like that. But you just go completely left and just act like a hater or something like that. Let me tell you, Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer because
Hall of Famer.
during his rookie season, remember how he got hit and got injured on that play, but instead of going out, went back
They
in
carried
and
him.
scored a touchdown.
So he should go into the
after
Hall of
game-
Fame for that? Is that why he's in the Hall of Fame? Come on. Really?
No, because he showed that type of toughness you don't see in quarterbacks who play in the NFL.
Okay, but you also see the interceptions that he's thrown, the playoff interceptions, the games. There's a lot of bad Matthew Stafford out there. Go look it up. There's a reason his name was Stat Padford in Detroit.
First of all, if you don't stop saying that.
No,
you
there's a
coined
reason.
that. You coined it.
But there's a
we
reason.
didn't agree with it.
But there's a reason that people didn't push back on that or say.
I'm pushing back
okay?
right now.
You know that was a moniker for him.
I saw Matthew Stafford make them boys compete and go and win games they shouldn't have won for years. For years.
Because they would be like, here we go. You're going to add a couple of touchdowns and yards now with prevent defense.
Who next?
Tim, Chili Tim in Atlanta. You're on the Odd Couple. Fox Sports Radio. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Rob? What's up, Kelvin? Hey, Rob, let me get a few points out before you start yelling.
What? Wait a minute. What? Why are you going to say that? I'm not a yeller. I'm a lover.
All right, you went too far now.
Rob,
you know, listen to the show every day.
I've been with you since the beginning of the show. I know you. So here we go. I'll say this about it. I think he's a solid quarterback, right? And here's why I say a couple things. You got to consider at the time he was playing in the division with Brett Favre, who had Sterling Sharp and Reggie White and those guys. So, I mean, he was playing and had a good Hall of Fame coach in Mike Hogan. So, you know, it was hard to win the division. Number two, if you really look at Eli Manning, if you take out those two Super Bowl runs, he's a 500 quarterback.
Take out you mean the two Super?
Let me finish. Let me finish, Rob, please. So I'm just saying this. You said the what is. If that pass hadn't stuck to David Tyree's helmet, he also had a Hall of Fame defense, you know, some great defensive players. So my point is, I think Kelvin is right. Sometimes the situation does matter.
The Giants were bad. The Giants were bad. And let me tell you this. This is why, Tim, I don't buy it. Because Eli, that wasn't the game winner, the Tyree, the helmet catch. That wasn't the game winner. He still had to throw the Plaxico to win the game. Stop making it like he just threw the ball up blindly.
It was an amazing play, but he didn't just throw it up blindly.
But he also, that throw he makes to Manningham up the sideline, that is one of the all-time great throws in a big game.
The David Tyree, the reason, he threw it to Plaxico, but he also threw a 50-yard bomb to him that we ain't heard from. David Tyree, we ain't heard from before or after. He made that amazing case. We ain't seen him since.
Plaxico won the game winner.
Because we got down the field 50 yards.
And he beat the 18-0 Patriots. And he's a humanitarian.
There's not a single time.
All of those 19-0 T-shirts went to Thailand.
A defensive coordinator was like, yo, we got to worry about Eli Manning. There were several times where defensive coordinators were like, yo, we got to stop Matthew Stafford.
What are you talking about? Eli's top 10 in touchdowns and top 10 in
we got to stop
passing
Tiki
yards.
Barber.
Top 10.
We got to stop Tiki Barber.
Stop it.
Wasn't nobody thinking about no stopping Eli. All right, Rob, so they're watching us right now, which means another thing they can do is what?
They can subscribe. All you got to do is hit that button, subscribe to The Odd Couple for some of the best sports talk content in the nation.
Facts, and while you're at it, they can like, they can comment, they can share, do all that for us. We appreciate it. Just do all that right up in here.